Welcome. Y'all already know how we do. It's me, Lady Z in the house. It's Friday date night.
Hello, everybody. How you doing out there? It's Friday. First, let me say this. You know the routine. You see in the comments. I need to know, what are you doing tonight? What are you doing? Who's with you? And what are you having? What is your dinner? What is your snack? Put it in the comments.
We want to know exactly where you at. If you're at the carnival, if you're at the liquor store, we want to know where you at. So just let us know and let's make it happen. But it's date night. It's date night here in the DMV. Here's People to People with Lady Z and Sir Rod. And I'm gonna tell you, like always, we get really excited when we come in and do this. And so again, but before we get started, let me tell you something. It's the month of June. I don't care what they say about Geminis. I'm a Gemini. Next Friday is my birthday. Tomorrow's my sister-in-law birthday. You go, Vicky.
Happy birthday.
Happy birthday to you, Vicky. Let me tell you something. This whole month, when the grandkids, the children, everybody's birthday. My daughter-in-law, my daughter's birthday, Phoebe's birthday, our grandsons, our son. When our sons, actually, our grandson,
my brother Butch
and Butch. Yeah. So we got or definitely 8, 9, and 10, 11, all the way 13. It just keeps going.
25th.
So guess what? Happy birthday to the Geminis and to everybody.
Geminis.
Also, happy birthday to my brother Malik down in Baltimore. He just had a birthday as well. And also to Penny Frazier.
Oh yes.
Penny just had a birthday too.
Happy birthday, Penny.
So, and also, as you know, we always put God first in everything we do, and we just want to send peace and blessings out to you before we introduce our guests. Just know that it's all about, just giving back to the community, giving back to each other, give love. Make sure that you're supporting one another. Don't make it about yourself. That's what this is all about. Y'all already know how we roll. People to people.
Power to power.
Positive thinking people. That's what we do. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to introduce our guests. We had the Thompsons in the house. We got LaShawn, right? LaShawna.
Yeah.
And Sean.
It's me.
Welcome. How y'all doing?
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for
for having us.
Oh man, first of all, y'all got to know that I'm really honored and excited to have y'all here. This is really, really a good opportunity because I heard so much about you. And I think we met a while back at another event a while ago.
Yeah.
And it was just amazing just to hear y'all story. I'm going to let y'all start it off, but I do want everybody to know, do both of y'all have a book or you just have a book?
Well, I have a book, and we also are both contributing authors to a separate book. And the book is about people who have mental health challenges and basically trying to normalize mental health in our community. And so it's about people who are suffering with depression, PTSD, anxiety, and other sorts of mental illnesses. And what is the name of it? Mind Over Matter.
Mind Over Matter.
Yes, and it was published by Tyrese McAllister, and she's one of the leading clinicians in DC, and she brought together a set of authors.
We're on the
who
Amazon
contributed.
bestseller list too. All that stuff.
It's on bestseller.
Yeah,
that's what I like. I love that bestsellers. So again, we always start with the ladies.
Of course.
So if you would, just your full name, and then tell us a little bit about yourself, and then
It's too beautiful up like
She
this.
is.
That's my wife, man.
You already know.
We live too. I'm embarrassed too. All
Hey, she can't do nothing while we live now. You know that.
But cameras off though. But cameras off. I'm going to pay for.
Yeah.
So my name is Lashonia Thompson. I am the executive director of The Wire, Women Involved in Reentry Efforts, and I'm also the director of Strategic Initiatives for Peaceful DC, which is how we met, because I have the pleasure of working alongside your daughter. You should be so proud of her. She's been contributing to the community in so many different ways. But I met Nika through that work, and then subsequently met you. And I basically have just been, for the last 11 years, working in criminal justice reform, restorative justice, working in gun violence intervention, and it all stemmed from my lived experience. Growing up in DC, I grew up in Ward 8, and at a young age got trapped in a cycle of violence, landed myself in prison, stayed in prison for 18 years. I was released in 2011, and I hit the ground running, trying to do everything that I can to make a difference and give back, and just atone for my actions, and also to just try to help people to understand how it is that people can cause the level of harm that I unfortunately caused in my community.
And what about you, sir?
I adore her, man. I
She
moved,
did-
I moved 10,000 miles away to get her. Oh, okay. I'm Sean Thompson here. I'm her husband. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri. I've been living here, 8 years?
2015.
Yeah, about 8 years. What can I say about myself? I hold a graduate degree from the University of Illinois, Chicago. I have a master's in criminology, law and justice, concentrations in violence studies. I work as a crisis intervention specialist with Pathways for Housing. I do a lot of work in the community for gun violence prevention, mental health, things of that nature. I'm basically her husband. I'm her wingman. I support the women, the women of the wire. Everything, man. I think at a young age, I think at 17, I committed a violent crime. I did, I think 14 years for that. Was out for a couple of years, wanted to be a drug dealer. Ended up getting indicted by the feds. I went to the feds for federal weapons charges and drugs. Did like 14 years for that, so I did approximately like 27, 28 years. I've been home for like 12 years and just completely reinvented myself.
No, man.
Went to school, got a bachelor's and a master's. Few good jobs, man. Met this beautiful woman, moved clear across the country, man.
I ain't mad at you,
Clear
bro.
across. I'm just saying, hey, man, when you see one, you gotta go get
You
it.
gotta do.
You gotta get it. I see you got her.
You
And you
already
wasn't playing,
know.
was
You already know, bro.
Hey,
It's like when we be fishing. When you put that hook in there, some of
Yeah.
them you gotta throw back. But when you catch that right one,
hey.
you stretch that hook and pull it in.
Look, she was talking about if you serious. I was talking to her on the phone about if you serious about it, you'll be flying up here. I was like, I got a test Friday. I was in grad school. I got a test Friday. I'll be there Saturday. She was like, yeah. I'm at the airport. You where?
My man, that's what I'm talking about.
He playing?
Come on.
That's
Say,
right.
I'm
hey, but
loving
you know,
this story.
hey, you know they throw that out there,
Yeah.
get us to see if we really serious.
I was serious. See, she didn't see what she did. She talked about. You've been my Facebook boyfriend for 2 years. You like me? You ain't tell me you like
Oh.
me. You just liking my pictures and saying hi and good morning. You like me. I'm a different animal when they like me, bro.
Oh, man.
I'm a whole different animal when they like me, man. For real.
That's all. Hey, I ain't mad at you. That's what it's all about. First of all, let me tell y'all how proud I am to be sitting here with you.
Thank you.
I mean, this is a lot of people are not going to be able to understand the magnitude of where y'all were and where you are now and what you're doing. Y'all are serving the community, and y'all could easily sit back and say, I could be mad at the world, but y'all not. What y'all doing is y'all showing us, every last one of us, even the ones who haven't been incarcerated, that we can change our life and move in a positive direction. So I want to say to you, for real, I take my hat off to you
Thank you.
and tell you much respect.
Ditto.
It's a lot of us who we have a tendency to take things for granted. Now, we want to get back to the fact that you wrote a book. So is the book a process of helping individuals from making mistakes, or is it just about mental health?
Right, so first I'll talk about my book. So I wrote a book about my life growing up in DC. It's called Through the Wire, My Search for Redemption, and it can be found on Amazon. The reason why I wrote the book, because I wanted people to understand the mindset of a young person that's trapped in a cycle of violence, because I don't think people realize that like violence is a learned behavior and it's a disease, and the same way you learn it and you can contract it, you can unlearn it and you can treat it. And so I was basically traumatized because I grew up in the early 90s. And you know, the crack epidemic was at its height during that time, and the area that I lived in was saturated with drugs and violence. And so I basically succumbed to it. And when I became incarcerated, I got my GED and had the opportunity to transform my life. And I wanted people to just understand that like people can change. Like nobody should be thrown away because they make bad choices. I think even now today, it's kind of shocking to me, like through the media and on the local radio, you hear people talking a lot about, people being incarcerated, people being in jail and prison, and I don't think people really understand that there's no such thing as a bad person. People do bad things, but everybody can change, and I just want people to be more open-minded and understand that if we treat the trauma that young people are experiencing and create opportunities for them to learn life strengthening skills and learn how to control their emotions and control their triggers and deal with trauma, then we wouldn't see as many young people causing the type of harm that we're seeing in the community. So I'm just hoping that it can help make a difference, because I know a lot of people are just like confused, really bottom line devastated behind the violence that we're seeing in our community, and it's not something new. This is something that has been happening all my life, and I'll be 50 this year.
That's something. I think we got a comedian over
thought she was
there.
like,
Look, cause I see he be picking on you. He be getting you. And so something that you said that was really profound, and that was the fact that when you said growing up you were surrounded by that type of environment. I want to ask you this: if you had not been exposed to that, do you think that you would have made those mistakes?
Absolutely not.
Yes.
I was exposed to violence at a really young age, and oftentimes it's in the home. With me, it was my parents and my grandparents, and then it was in my community.
Mm-hmm.
So it was basically everywhere I turned. And when I was confronted with conflict, I didn't have anybody to teach me the proper ways to deal with conflict. The values in my community was, if somebody put their hands on you, you put your hands on them.
Right.
And you better come out on top.
Right.
Or you gonna get it twice.
Right.
So I didn't know any other way. And so I sometimes look at myself as like a child soldier. When I see those child soldiers in Africa, and I see how they're being trained to fight at a young age, that's how I see myself, because I know that I wasn't a violent person. I used to run from fights. I didn't like violence. I was scared. I didn't want to hurt nobody, and I didn't want nobody to hurt me. But my family, my father, my older siblings, and my peers, they made me fight back. And over time, I got accustomed to that mentality, and something awful happened, and I landed myself in prison, caused a lot of harm, and had to do a lot of time. So I definitely believe that, all of that happened because I was exposed to violence at a young age. It's called adverse childhood experiences, ACEs. Like, anybody can look it up. It's been proven that when you experience a number of adverse childhood experiences, you're more likely to suffer from mental health, or end up causing harm, or substance abuse, or other issues.
Sean, so when it come to you, did you have that same exposure coming up as a young man?
Yeah, I grew up, I'm from the Midwest, St. Louis, Missouri. I don't live on no farm, man. A lot of people be misconstrued that it's a country town, it's a real big city, man. A lot of violence, a lot of heroin, a lot of drugs. I was exposed to all type of violence. I think the first time I was arrested, I was probably 9 or 10. Just like my story is like any other kid's story in the city, man. Mom and dad were hustlers, man. And when I got out of school, we hung out on the corners. You know what I'm saying? We hung out on the corners in the alleys, hustled nickel bags, I shined shoes. It was just a different era of time. But being exposed to all that violence eventually led to a life of crime. A lot of drug dealing. I eventually committed a violent crime, winding myself in prison. I think I was 17. I had 25 years.
25 years at 17?
Yeah, 17. I had 25 years. Yeah, man, that was crazy. I basically grew up in prison. I always tell a person when they was walking across the stage, I was behind a 100-foot wall. When the kids would walk behind the stage, I was behind a 100-foot wall. Basically grew up in prison. And let's get back to the book. The book, I like mental health. I'm an advocate of mental health and education. I think my chapter of the book is more called undiagnosed mental health. because I was diagnosed with PTSD, I think, when I got out of prison in 2011, 2012. But I've been going to jail since 81. I had all the ACEs symptoms and my wife adverse childhood experiences. I went through all these years of incarceration. I'm not even talking about my juvenile years, adult institutions, and no one never diagnosed me as having PTSD. No one ever diagnosed me as having a mental health issue. Everyone just labeled me as the bad kid. My parole officer diagnosed me, man. Cause basically when I was released from prison, I moved to Chicago in an attempt to reinvent myself. I was attending school. I think I was working on my master's, and my parole officer wanted me to go take a urine test or something. And I went all the way down there. Like, how college is, you might have a class and it's maybe an hour before the next class. So I done caught this train on the other side of town, get to the other side of town to take a urine test, and the door locked.
You kidding me?
Nah, man. So my parole officer was like, you missed your urine test. The door was locked. And I was like, man, I don't get high. I'm not going. I went from like 0 to 10 on. I'm not going. Send me back to jail. I don't care about this stuff. Blah, blah, blah. And she was like, you don't have to go do no urine test for me. Well, you go have a mental health evaluation. And so they set up the appointment. And I was honestly relieved to be diagnosed with PTSD. You mean tell me all these years they've been telling me I'm crazy?
Right.
And I'm not crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
All these years people been telling me I'm crazy.
But it's just
so basically I've had these adverse childhood experiences or these traumatic situations that triggered me.
right.
So something have I respond a certain way. And I think my therapist told me due to my experiences, I don't have the fight or flight response. I have the fight or fight. It's gonna be on. That's, you know what I'm saying? So when I was diagnosed, it was really more like a relief. Like, man, for 40 years they've been telling me I was crazy. You know what I'm saying? I'm not this, I'm not that. So, of course, I went and Googled what PTSD is and the symptoms, my hypervigilance, my aggression, the triggers that make me respond a certain way. So once I understood my disease, I could avoid my triggers. Right. I could seek assistance and help and learn to talk things out. Because in the hood, there ain't no de-escalation skills.
Right. Yeah.
It ain't like, and what I learned is mostly about communication.
Yeah.
But we come from an environment where we don't communicate. Everybody on some bravado stuff. And 9 times out of 10, it's just miscommunication. You said this, but
right.
Bro, I didn't even mean it like that.
Right.
I was telling a joke.
Yeah.
And instead of us talking about it, we shooting at each other.
Well, if you think about, because I don't know how old y'all are, but in my time coming up, and it wasn't about the guns so much. It was, you throw the knuckles up, and then the next day you back on the basketball court. But I want to go back to something, and I think that all of us sitting here can relate to this, even with my wife. My wife grew up in South Carolina. My wife grew up with a grandmother. This was a little old church girl, okay? Mm-hmm. But she had her things that she had to deal with as a child as well, that affected her into her adulthood. But one of the things that I want our guests to understand is this. For real, it's the environment that starts the whole situation. Yes. See, a lot of times we look at different people from different areas and we wonder why their kids may not be as aggressive as our kids from this location. But if you grew up in a block that every time you had to fight from one corner to the other, that's a big difference from you saying we're going down to the skating rink or going down to do some painting in the community center. Yes. And so we have a different understanding. And I got to bring something to y'all attention. The reason why, because I need both of y'all to speak on this, because it's been really bothering me. We are labeled in a certain way that is not good. Now they got that young boy that's on trial right now, and he's been on the news for the last couple of days. What do you call him? The kid, Baby Kate or whatever.
They
okay.
just arrested him.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, but I want you to think about something. Here we're talking about this young kid on television. We got other young kids that's watching this who are not able to understand what you called it, PTSD.
PTSD.
Right? They don't know that this may be their situation.
Right.
So what they're thinking, yo man, look, everybody talking about baby, what is it?
Baby K.
Baby K, right?
As a mental health, I'm sorry to interrupt. As a mental health professional, I'm like 90% sure he has some type of mental health.
Yes.
I'm like, and I haven't even seen him.
Yes.
But just what I see
Yeah.
on television, what I've heard, I'm like 90% sure. But that's my professional opinion.
Right.
But I'm not about. He got something going on.
So
He got something.
a lot of people, this is where we talk about what we're exposed to, and the reason why I brought this up, because let me tell you something, we got a lot of children that'll be watching this. Now, if they're not getting properly educated, some of them are assuming that he's getting a lot of popularity right now. Oh, he all on
They want the
TV.
same thing.
So they start to not understand where he's going. Because I didn't do no time. I was in the Marine Corps, okay? I dealt with it differently. But I can tell you this, and I'm sure that both of y'all can tell me there ain't no walk in the park behind them bars. So if you've never been there, it's a big difference when you go in there and you 14, 15, 16, 17.
Let me tell you.
Go ahead,
I
tell me.
went when I was 17. I got out when I was 31. This ain't no joke, man. All your 20s, man. Your whole entire 20s. But I was so stupid, I went back when I was 32 and didn't get out till I was like 46. See, like, I'm just telling you, man.
But what was it like you being so young in there? How tell them about that. Was it like going to the Cub Scouts?
No, man, it was like survival of the fittest. It was just violence.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
It was just violence. And like, my situation is unique. I was in prison with my father, my stepfather,
Oh my
and my
God,
brother.
bruh.
Like, it's like, my situation was just like, my father was there. My mother's husband was there, my stepfather, and my older brother. Like, I was in prison with my family, like, and it was just like I grew up. You know what I'm saying? And that's what it is now, walking park.
I let's go back to this, what y'all do right now.
Okay.
First of all, let me tell you something again. Just hearing that, look what you're doing today. You're preventing other people from taking that turn. You're helping people in the community. Please. When I say continue to do so, I'm not saying that because y'all ready to give up or anything.
Right.
I'm just telling you how bad we need you. We need you so bad.
People need to hear your story, that's for sure.
I appreciate that. You know, just thinking about the young man, I know I saw that they finally captured him, and now he'll be charged as an adult. But the fact is, he's a child. And people don't want to accept that because they're like, well, he not behaving like a child. You know, he acting like a grown man, doing grown man things. But it has been proven that the brain is not fully developed until you're 25. And if you understand trauma, you understand what it actually does to the brain, then like everything he's doing says trauma, has trauma written all over it. And it's just so sad that because some people may think he's gonna get help when he get to prison, but prison is not a place to help people. Prison is not a place to like fix social problems and treat mental health and give you substance abuse support and stuff like that. Prison is just basically causes more harm. It's more traumatic because it's violent, because you are basically estranged from your family and your community and cut off from everything you know and love. And being confined just makes that trauma so much more worse. So, I mean, I guess, like you said, if you've never been through it, you will never understand. And I think that it's safe to say we do what we do because we don't want people to have to experience that. We want people to change their thinking and change their behavior before they cause that type of harm and before they land themselves in that situation.
So how does, again, both of y'all have served some time, and I'm not talking about like a couple of years. How does that with y'all relationship, if you don't mind me asking?
Yeah, that's a good question, actually. And I think, well, it was interesting because we met on social media, we met on Facebook, and we both got released around the same time, but he was in Chicago, relocated from St. Louis to Chicago to go to school, was then with his aunt. And I was here in DC, and we share the same religion. We both study more science, we're both Moorish Americans. So I guess that's why I was following him, because I just saw his name was ill. And we was having the same experiences with re-entry and just trying to, reacclimate to society, but it was just on social media. And then eventually popped in my inbox.
I was in my inbox. I'm in inbox
It was
now.
in my inbox. And so I responded, which as I was responding, I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this, but I did. And then we was inseparable ever since that very first conversation. There has not been a day that has went by that we haven't talked since that very first conversation. And we was in a long distance relationship for a couple of years where I would fly to Chicago or he would fly here. We would go back and forth, take turns.
Every 3
visit
weeks.
and date.
Every 3
And
weeks.
then-
Every 3 weeks.
Yes.
3 weeks. I'm going there in 3 weeks. The next 3 weeks she back. We did that like for 2 years.
2 years, and then we got married. We got married before he even graduated from grad school, and then after he graduated, he relocated here. So, fast forward, we had never lived together, which is the traditional way, right? You're
Right.
not supposed to,
Right.
actually. We had never lived together before we got married, and I don't think I really understood the level of PTSD that we both was dealing with because we had both been incarcerated so long. We never been in a relationship. So there was never really nobody, other people see you better than you see yourself.
Yeah, yeah.
You might think you got your stuff together till you get around somebody
Somebody else.
that tell you the truth about yourself.
Yeah.
So it was a learning process, but because of, I think I speak for both of us when I say because of our own lived experience and understanding what it was like for us as an individual, we was able to be empathetic towards each other and work with each other to work out whatever differences we may have. So communication has always been a big thing for us. And we always just make sure we're on the same page. And so far so good. We've been married for 8 years.
So Sean, let me ask you this: if you was able to get your hands on, I wish I knew the young boy's real name because I don't like it that they call him by his
Baby
nickname.
Right.
That's not.
like a rap name.
But, and not only that, let me tell you something. I'm not a psychologist, but I'm not stupid. I'm far from that.
Right.
The more and more you call him that nickname, the more and more you relate to that nonsense.
Right. You dehumanizing him.
Exactly. So you need to call him by what his name is,
Right.
and you want to treat him as an adult, then call him by his
Right.
legal name. What would be your approach for him? How would you deal with him? Would you lock him up? Would you punish him for what he did? Because what he did cost some people life.
We know it has to be accountability without a question. But first time thing I tell him I love him, man.
My man, that's what I'm talking about. Yes.
I love you.
Come
man.
on, man.
Like what's going on, bro?
Thank you.
I love you, man. What's going on?
Yes.
And like you setting yourself up, man. They
Yeah.
gonna take your youth, bro.
Yeah.
Bro, they gonna take your youth. Like I was in my prison my whole entire 20s, bro. They gonna take your youth. It's hard to explain because you don't know exactly what his trauma is or what he's going through. But what he is, what gives, man. Somebody gonna have to get like inside of his head and what's going on. What makes you so angry? What makes you so violent? What triggers you?
Yeah. But
Why have
What
you become?
happened?
Yeah, what
What
happened?
happened to you?
So we
The
go back
question.
to this. We go back to this, and this is on all areas. I want to say this to those that's watching out there. Let me tell you something. I have a me and my wife, we have a very good friend. Say Demetria's name right. Demetria. She has the good fight. Demetria deals with trauma and stuff like that. They talk about it on her program. She has a good program that's it's called some. She gonna be mad that I don't never remember that. I always remember the good fight, but I want to say this because she deals with the trauma and they talk about this all the time. And it's talking about how people deal with it as a child, right? Okay. So here we got this young kid, and we're not looking at what happened as a child with him. What is it that's causing him to go out here to act like this? And this is most of us. I've talked to several people, and it doesn't mean just because you black in America that you don't have those problems. This is in white people's homes, in Asian homes. We talking kids who have been traumatized as children that nobody has really went to them to find out what the problem is, and the first thing you do is incarcerate them, and then what they do is this. I'm gonna tell you, I do a lot of mentoring with some kids in schools, and I can tell them this: if you take a dog and you put it on a chain, and you'll constantly keep him on the chain, when you cut him loose, he's gonna run. If you take a dog and keep him in a cage, when you let him out, he ain't gonna know how to act. Now, you gotta understand, dogs, we sleep with, eat with them, right?
Right.
So that means that we kind of operate in the kind of same way they do.
Human animals.
Yeah. So what you got to realize is when you take an individual and you have them traumatized as a child, whether it's beaten, cussing, seeing drugs, being molested, or whatever the case may be, you're setting them up to be angry. You're setting them up to fight back, and fight back in a way that they don't know how. I tell people, guns don't kill people. People kill people. You know, most of the times when a dog is vicious, is because his owner is. Believe me.
So how did you come to that realization you never had that lived experience? You just
What about?
everything you just said, because a lot of people just
Don't get it?
So,
Well,
No, they don't get it, bro.
okay, the reason why is because actually I grew up in a situation where I grew up in a very abusive with a very abusive childhood. I didn't go to, my brother went to penitentiary. And the reason why I didn't, my brother was my hero when I was growing up. And let me tell you something, when I found out my brother was out there robbing banks and doing those things like that, I wanted to do it too. So I started to go that direction. But then my brother, he wrote me a letter and told me to take care of his son and look after his son while he was away. So my brother gave me something to change my direction.
and I asked that because a lot of times I read this book called Locking Up Our Own by James Foreman Jr. And a lot of times it be our own people begging for more police, bring in the National Guard, lock them up, throw away the key. And I'm not sure if it's just because as a nation we just addicted to incarceration and punishment, or if it's just our, it's the hate produce, and our lack of love for each other. But it don't really bother me so much when it's other people calling for those sort of things, but when it's our own people, it's kind of troubling because it's like if we can't have empathy for each other, then
Okay, so let's deal with that. Let's deal with that. And now we got to keep it real because when you come down to a lot of this situation, this is by design.
Right.
Okay, let me tell you something. I don't care if it's love in the ad, then it's gonna be love that's gonna be shared. I go back to the dogs. I use dogs because you actually can breed dogs to be fighters.
mm-hmm.
You know,
it's relatable because people would treat their dog better than they treat another
okay.
human.
So, but what was happening in the history of slavery? It was very brutal. They was throwing babies out to crocodiles, bro. They was raping men in front of their sons.
Cut the baby out their belly.
Right. They had places where they dropped us in and they was saying making the boy have sex with his mama.
Right.
His sister, just to produce another body to
Right.
put in the cotton field.
Right.
So we talking about trauma.
Passed down from generation to generation.
So when we come to this point, it's like this. You know why right now it's so hard for most of black men to look at another black man and tell him that he love him?
What's that, bro?
And that's because it was by design for us not to like the way we look.
Right.
I love you.
But I question. You past that, bro.
No,
I'm just saying. Yeah,
no,
I'm with you, but like,
okay, you see, but we got a lot of guys.
They ain't past
They
it.
can't get. You know why? Because in their mind, they got it where they're thinking, this make me less than.
Right.
but then again, bro, nobody ever loved them. No one ever showed them some compassion,
Yeah.
some care,
Yes.
or some concern, or even just listen. I'm just
So-
saying, being a black man, it like, it's a struggle every day.
So we ain't gonna let Miss Lady Z sit here and don't say
Miss
nothing.
Lady-
You already
How long
know.
y'all been married?
Come on, talk to him, baby.
How long y'all been married, Lady T?
We got married in 2015.
Okay.
Same
You
year.
remember back.
8 years?
8
Okay,
years. We were
okay.
married for 8
Same
years, but we were together for 13
Oh, wow.
before then.
So yeah, she tricked me.
It couldn't been no
Always
trick,
says
man.
it.
Man,
Wasn't no
man.
trick, bro.
Bruh,
Wasn't no trick.
Let me tell
You
you
just
something.
locked in, bro. You
Bruh.
was going anyway.
Let me tell you something.
You was going anyway. You was like, she look in your eyes. You was going anyway.
Let me tell you something. I ain't gonna lie. I met her in the cabaret, and she walked in the door, and when she walked in, I was like, I told my friend at the time, I said, I don't know who she is, but I gotta know her. And I sat and wait. I asked her to say the last dance for me. She was going to fixing drinks and
Oh,
stuff.
that's romantic.
I said, would you say the last dance for me? I wasn't thinking that it was the cabaret just started. That's about 2 hours.
You had to wait 2 hours.
I sat there and waited.
He never moved. He stayed in that same seat in front of the drinks
Wow.
And waited.
and waited.
And you went back for him.
Yeah, and the last dance came, right? Man, I love that DJ. Oh, I love him. Cause guess it was a slow
song.
jam, and it was her birthday, so she was partying, and she was out there partying. The dude, he danced with her the whole time, and when the dude flicked the lights, I got this bubble in my stomach, and I was like, you know what, man, she done danced with this dude the whole time, and I wanted to see that I was looking. I looked over and I saw her coming. I said, oh shit. And then my man had that slow jam coming on, and the dude was pulling her, trying to pull her back, and she was pulling away. She came to me.
Oh, wow.
And she said, I promised you the last dance. Man, thank you, Lord. Thank you, y'all.
That's a beautiful story.
So,
I like that.
but,
He's just a smooth
sounds like a
operator.
scene in a movie.
but and check this out. I met her on her birthday. I proposed to her on her birthday, and I married her on her birthday.
So when is your birthday?
November 23rd.
Okay.
So it actually, you know, and I'm gonna tell you something.
It actually works out. I mean, people say, oh, why would you do that on your birthday? Because then you gotta, the celebration. Yeah, it's like
Because
it works
everything,
out
I celebrate everything with
every
her.
day.
So I don't, honestly, the only thing that I really put special effort into is your birthday. Christmas, Thanksgiving, Valentine's Day, all that's a bunch of crap to me. And God forgive me if I'm disrespecting anybody, but I'm telling you the reason why I say that. Because see, you don't supposed to wait till just one day to go up and tell your mother Happy Mother's Day when your mother gave birth to you. You should treat her like that every day.
I celebrate mine every day.
Every day. That's what I'm telling you.
That's how it's supposed to be.
You do.
Every day is Valentine's.
And
Every day is love.
Every day is love.
every day.
Positive thinking people. I love
Come
that
on.
song in the beginning. That, I don't know, I'm just like, wow, we need more people like y'all that can pour that positive energy into the community because it's so needed.
Well, that's what we asking for individuals that tune into people to people. This is not a joke. This is something that a lot of people don't even know we hear. But what we're trying to do is we want people to know, tune in, share this. This is your opportunity. If you're a poet, if you're a director, if you're a rapper, if you sew, if you write books, if you're doing something positive in your life, come talk to us at People to People. We're going to sit down and have that conversation. See, when people talk about what you went through in your life, but y'all got a remedy for it.
Right.
First of all, here we got a married couple that's working together still, together.
And we need more of our people to get married.
And we need
It's
it.
like
Yeah,
easy.
it does.
For real. Get
It does.
married.
Get married. Find you that partner that's going to be able to tolerate all your
Yes.
bullshit.
She put up with mine.
I didn't say
She
find
put up with
the
mine.
crazy you can live with because we all got
She
to
put
live
up
with
with
it.
mine.
Yeah. No, but you know, that's the main thing.
Nobody's gonna be perfect.
You know, this was so cool even with Lady Z. So she has a tendency like, I can be a handful, right? And she has a way of absorbing it.
Yes.
And it's weird.
What you mean?
I know, when you said that, you made me think about how we both have noticed this. If it's something that stresses him out, I'll be so calm.
Yeah.
You would think
That's
it could
me.
stress me out
Right.
too, but
Exactly.
I don't know. What comes over me is like if he's stressed out, I'm calm, and if something stressed me out, he'll be so calm. And then I'm looking like, if he ain't tripping, then maybe I shouldn't be tripping. But I'm really thinking he should be tripping. But it never fails. If I'm stressed out, he's calm. And if he's stressed out, I'm calm. And I just give it to God. Because I don't know how that happened.
Yeah.
But that's
just
that,
do.
we do have to give honor and praise to Yah
Yes.
over
Praise be
everything.
to Allah.
Yeah,
Yes.
because we already
His
know
will, not ours.
Yes.
that is so true, and that's where a lot of us make mistakes. You know, see, we one of the things, that I honestly have to say this. I had to learn how to be a husband. I had to learn how to be a man. I had to learn how to be responsible. I had to learn how to pray with my wife.
Yes.
See, we sometimes we could be laying in the bed and I might be thinking about making love, and all of a sudden the Holy Spirit hit me, and I grab a hand and say, "Can we pray right now?"
Real quick.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
I know I'm with you. I mean, let me just go get this prayer in real quick. Let me get this in, man. I'm just telling the truth. Because I'm just like, I be chilling and they ain't go wrong. Let's go and pray. I'll follow.
But that's
Keep
what
God
it's,
first, though. You're right.
you know, you got to do that. But one of the things also, we got to be responsible for our actions. And remember this: each one of us, as y'all as queens and us as kings, as we walk, so shall our children. They watch us as we walk. If you walk with a pimp and a limp, guess what? Your child will get it too. I walked in. I was walking down the mall one time, and I had all three of my kids, and I tell you, people were staring at them because
They all walk just like
my two sons had my walk, and my baby girl was walking behind us, and you know, and I was like, it was something.
Yeah.
And so, you know, we got to be very, very careful. And I can say that today, I'll be 63 June 9th. Y'all remember that. The Cash App is the $RG 1960. The $RG 1960 if y'all want to Cash Out for my birthday. But you know how I do. I want y'all to do that for the program, but I just thought I'd throw that in there. I wear
And he's serious.
I wear a size large in shirts because guess what? Man, I'm losing it. I'm losing it, and you know.
How many pounds did you lose, sir?
Actually, you know, I'm so pumped up. So I a couple of weeks ago I weighed 205 pounds, and as of today I weigh 198.
wow, congratulations. Yeah.
Yeah. So you know, I'm handling my business, but I get back on the serious side. As y'all met my daughter.
Yes.
My baby is, you know my baby like that.
Yes.
My baby's like that because guess
My
what?
way.
She was running with her daddy in many cases, and I ain't gonna say everything she do is good because I did a lot of crazy things that she shouldn't have seen. But that's where I go back to now understanding some of the things in a child's life,
Right.
what causes them, because I had that problem too. So I can say to any parent out there, be careful. If you smoking cigarettes and your son right there and he's 2-3 years old, 9 out of 10 he gonna smoke them too. Right. If you cussing at your wife or you cussing at your husband, guess what? He gonna do that to his sister or his cousin. If you out here praying and you trying to help the community, that's what they gonna do that, because that's what my baby was doing. My daughter was doing this at 12, 13, 14 years old. My daughter used to bring stray kids home. Okay? I used to come home and sometimes be like, don't bring another one.
Believe it.
No, seriously.
I already know.
We sometimes look at her, I'm just like, oh my goodness. But
She's still bringing them home.
but the most blessing thing that I received was having a relationship with God with my wife. That's the one thing that I can honestly say that at this point that changed my life. If I had grew up sooner, I probably could have prevented quite a few different things, and I could have made things better for other people's lives, considering my children. And I make no excuses, but it's never, as y'all proven, it's never too late. Here, this man said he went to penitentiary at 17 years old. But when did you go back to school?
45.
Come on, bruh.
Right.
Come on.
That's awesome.
But like you don't have any really choices. Like I never really been afraid of anything but dying in prison, man. And I didn't want to die in prison, so you have to reinvent yourself. You know what else can you do? Education is the only way that you really gonna change your tax bracket. And let me go. Like, let's be honest, I was a criminal. I thought like a criminal till in my 40s. I just couldn't think of a perfect crime, man. And that's the only reason I quit being a criminal. I couldn't think of a perfect crime. And no education. I like money. I like things. So I had to get me an education, man, so I could get some money because I still like things. Got out, it wasn't really that, it was more time consuming and difficult. I got out, I think I got a associates in prison in the 90s before they took the school and stuff out. Got out 2 years of bachelor's, 2 years for a master's. I lived on campus too with the kids, bro. See, that's what a lot of people don't understand. The sacrifices you make for a guy like me to live on a college campus and ride the trains and the buses, man, was just so humbling. But see, God take you through those things. That haughtiness and that arrogance, you have to tone that down, man. Yeah. You're gonna live in this college campus with these kids throwing footballs in the hallway at 3, 4 in the morning. You gonna eat in the college cafeteria. You 45 years old, a so-called G, around here with these kids. You know what I'm saying? Eating these
How
lunches.
bad do you want it?
Yeah, how bad do you want it, man? But like, I wasn't going to live anywhere where I felt I needed a gun. I ended up on campus because I was like, you know, you look for an apartment, you get out of jail, you get your job, you get your money, looking for an apartment, but you gotta run background checks. And when I run the background check from the apartment, they try to put me over to carry out. Like, man, I'm not going nowhere. I need a gun. You trying to send me back to jail?
Yeah.
I'm in Chicago. You gonna send me to West Side Chicago over the Chinese joint?
Oh, wow.
Bro, is you crazy?
Yeah. But you know, again, so let's go back to by design. So we're looking at what's happening even in the day today. How is it that they building all these high-rise apartments and all these beautiful homes and stuff? Where the hell are some of these people gonna get money to be able to live in them? Because I'm gonna tell you something. It's only a certain type of individuals that can afford it.
It's not designed for us.
Yeah.
I think
It's not designed
you
for
have to
us,
at least
man.
be making 90,000, or be maybe a 2-parent household, and together you making about 100 to afford the average apartment in DC, like 90 to 100,000.
And that's still
That's
on the
the
low
minimum.
end.
Yeah,
That's on
that's
the low
the
end.
minimum.
Right. That's on the low end. So you got to be right now. If you wanted to be living comfortable, you got to be in a household where you got 2 people making at least $100,000 a piece.
Yes, basically.
Because in order for you to live comfortably, not like a rich person.
Yeah,
I'm just talking about
yeah,
just
you're
comfortable.
right.
Just comfortable.
And I'm talking about to live in DC, in the city,
Oh,
in
right.
Ward 7 or 8
Come
or
on,
any
yeah.
other ward.
Okay, then why don't you try to go to
Yeah.
Virginia?
Even worse.
Come on, or you try to go or different parts of Maryland. See where go in Mitchellville. You're not going up there like that. And we talking about what we are. But again, for everybody just tuned in, I want y'all to know this is People to People, Rodney Grimes and Lady Z. Sir Rod, you already know. And our guests are the Thompsons. I'm telling you, I have enjoyed this interview. We still got some time now. We ain't gone yet. I just want y'all to know what's coming in. But I'm telling you, this is what we talking about. When we got people in our community like this, they have a story to tell. We all have a story. But what they've done, they're taking their story and made it a mission. It's a mission. And what they doing, they are helping people from all different areas. And so let's go back to, what is your program? What's your program? Let's talk about that.
Yes. Okay, so I have so many different things that I'm doing, but I guess the first one I talk about is the Wire, Women Involved in Reentry Efforts. That's a nonprofit organization that I started along with the women that I was incarcerated with. And so the first thing I would say is prison don't change people, it's the people in prison that changes people. So the women that I was incarcerated with became my village, and they basically raised me because I was 19 when I became incarcerated. And so we started the Wire so that we could advocate for other women to get out, and we could support women when they come home. And we also started to work with girls who are at risk of incarceration because we want to disrupt those pipelines to incarceration. And then in addition to that, I work with Peaceful DC with your amazing daughter, where we are training violence interrupters and outreach workers and credible messengers across the District of Columbia to help them with their skills as they go out into different communities to prevent shootings. So we're teaching things like CBT, cognitive behavior theory skills, healthy masculinity, how to mediate conflicts, how to de-escalate conflicts, and try to help how to change the norms in the various communities. But the last thing I wanted to say is that at this point, and I know the same goes for you and Lady Z, now we're talking about the 3rd generation in our families, as we're grandparents now. And so we want to break that cycle of poverty and incarceration because we don't want our grandkids to have to go through the same thing we went through.
Right.
So I think that's been a huge part of our inspiration as well, being grandparents. Between him and I think we have about 13
grandchildren,
grandkids.
4 great-grandchildren.
My daughter has 5, his daughter has 6, and we even got some great grandkids now.
Alright.
So yeah, so it's about breaking
That
cycle.
cycle. You said you have some questions.
Yes. Let me get back to it. Well, before I get to this question, Angela Gomez says, "Hi, Rodney and Zena. What you're eating for your date night?" We did not tell them what we normally do. And I thank God for our daughter. Mika came through and
And
she
put the,
Quesadillas.
Yeah.
provided,
That's
and
good.
we put this together. It's amazing. Angela, we are having, wow, we have a nice
Quesadillas.
we have quesadillas.
We
It's
got-
it's shrimp quesadillas.
Yes.
We have a fruit and
Fruit
cheese
platter. We got
have
it.
a veggie
Yes.
platter with hummus.
That's us. That's us. Me and you,
Hummus,
bro.
then we have the chips. We just gotta switch it around so that they'll be able to get some of what we have on this side, because they're just eating off the fruit platter and they're not getting this, and they need to get this. This is really
I
good.
had one though.
You did. That's really good. So, but anyway, thank you, Angela, and you have to just share what you're having. So we have a question, and it's from Ted. He says, "I missed the beginning of the convo. If you both are convicted murderers,
Damn.
Bless his heart. Go
Okay,
ahead.
bless his heart.
why should young peeps and anyone who may be in a situation where they may want to kill someone because they find themselves in a situation that they would want to kill someone should listen to you?"
That's actually a legitimate question, and a lot of people ask that question because I think it's a lack of understanding. Most people want to learn from people who share their lived experience. So that's why Narcotics Anonymous is so successful, because people who are in recovery like to hear from other people who are in recovery because they know that they understand addiction. That's why they have sponsors who have been in recovery for long periods of time. So if I feel like I want to pick up, I call my sponsor. I probably wouldn't call my pastor who's
Right.
never been suffering with
Right.
addiction. So people want to learn from people who they think understand their lived experience. You understand what I'm going through because you've been through it, and you transform your life. So then I'll be more likely to be open to you and listen to you because I know you get it.
And not
That's
everybody.
just the way it is.
But-
And I'm not saying that it's right, because sometimes you can learn from anybody. But most people, if you recovering from an addiction, most people don't want to hear from nobody that never been addicted.
Right.
They just don't want to hear.
Let me interject here. He was wondering like how,
Why would somebody listen to you if they was in the same situation?
cause a real shooter only gonna listen to a shooter, man. I used to be a shooter. I got over 87 arrests and like 9 convictions. Been spent like 30 years in prison. I'm not glamorizing it. I'm just telling you what it is. And if he pick up that gun and he shoot somebody, bro, somebody gonna tell on you. You don't go to jail. This is what's going to happen. There's no such thing as a perfect crime, man.
Right.
And they gonna lock you up.
But how can you tell me what it's like to be incarcerated if you've never been
Right.
incarcerated?
So-
How can you
spent
tell me
like-
how
right.
harmful it is
Right.
and how traumatic it is?
Right.
And this is what they don't understand. I went to prison when I was 17? And I grew up in prison. I was so bad. I got like 8-9 years of supermax in solitary confinement. You know what I'm saying? Because prison was so violent and I was so hostile and I was just surviving.
Mm-hmm.
Like 8-9 years in an isolation cell. You be in a prison inside of a prison. You know what I'm saying? That you become what they call incorrigible. You be desensitized. I went crazy twice. Like mental health breakdowns. I'm just saying, just living through things like, I was in prison in Missouri. And like, people don't know, they got the gas chamber in the middle of the yard. So
wow.
every day you see it.
Oh my.
This is psychological things from every day you walk past the gas chamber. Every day. Every day, man.
To remind you
Yeah.
that we will put you in it.
Yeah.
It's constant trauma.
And you got to realize something. I mean, I'm only doing this from television, right?
Right.
It's people that are criminals that's guarding you in there,
Yeah.
because they committing crimes too by the way they treat you.
Yeah, of course.
And not only that, basically Americans are the biggest criminals on earth.
Yeah.
Like the biggest rapists, the biggest murderers, the biggest thieves on earth.
And
And so they go unpunished, but when people who get caught in that trap respond to it the way you would think that they would, then they get punished. And I just think we have a really distorted way of looking
we just
at
gotta
things.
quit normalizing young black men going to jail.
Jail. Thank you.
That's not normal.
It's not.
We gotta quit normalizing prison.
Yes.
We gotta quit normalizing killing people, man. That shit ain't cool.
That's
man.
right.
You my brother, why I wanna hurt you, man?
Thank you.
You my sister, why I wanna call you out your name, man?
Yes.
Why can't we love each other? And I'm not no holier than thou type
No,
person.
I got you.
But I like to lead by example. You'll never see me preaching, you shouldn't do this, you shouldn't do this. But this how I live, this is what I do. I look good, I live good, I'm married to a good woman, we got a nice house, nice cars, everything. And we got a total like 48 years in prison. And like what? I got 80, I got like 80 something arrests, man. Like this is real stuff. This ain't no, I ain't no like, bro, I don't live on no farm, man. I'm just saying, like, I got over 80 something arrests, like, I got like 6 murder arrests. I'm just saying, like, just to be honest, just to be candid. You know what I'm saying? I got a murder conviction for about 6 arrests. You know what I'm saying? Another 70 arrests. You know what I'm saying? This is real life stuff, man. But you can't glamorize this. You can't, like, this is normal. No, that shit wasn't normal, man. I was a traumatized kid growing up in the hood, doing stuff to survive, and people normalizing crime. You know what I'm saying? Grown men putting a gun in my hand and putting dope in my hand, saying you do it like this and you do it like that.
Right.
You know, that was just learned behavior, man.
And that's where I want to go back to that young boy that's in going on trial right now. A lot of us get past the fact that that boy killed somebody. Get past
Allegedly killed somebody.
Allegedly
killed
right.
somebody.
Okay, because we don't know. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
But I want to say this: he's still a child, and he's not a man. He's not a grown man, and he don't for real. He don't really know what it's like to have real responsibility because he's never been in a responsible situation.
Know what he done done. He don't even know the value of life yet.
Right. So he don't. But when he looked at it, you know, and I tell a lot of people this: you take a young kid. Now let me tell you something. So when I joined the military, right? A lot of people, I still have nightmares today. Okay? Today. They teach you how to kill. We just paid.
Right.
It's not a guy that goes into the military or woman that don't know how to kill. That's what they train you to do.
Right.
So what happens is you get programmed. What about that kid? It's almost like this. Do you remember the first time you killed a roach?
Right.
The first time you stepped on it, you did like this. Because you heard it pop.
Yeah.
You'd be like, oh, man. And then you think about how the roach felt when you stomped on it. And then after a while, you know, you get desensitized, and then you start smacking with your hand, pop. You just stomping on it and rub it in the ground.
Right.
You wouldn't rub them into you sort of go away. After a while, you get to a point that it doesn't matter. And you know something? I'll give you a prime example. God forgive me because I'm getting ready to confess something. Me and my daughter was just talking about it. We saw this rabbit just running in the yard, and my daughter said, "Daddy, you changed." Because God forgive me. So what I used to do, you know, if the squirrels and raccoons and them running through my yard, I shoot them. Right? Well, one time, and I'm just saying this because this is how important this
Murdered
is.
the bunny rabbit, man?
No. We trying to catch the rabbit.
Okay.
But I shot this squirrel in front of my daughter.
Wow.
My daughter be 34 years old in a couple of weeks, and she still haven't forgot it. And she said something to me about it yesterday as we was talking about this rabbit. She said, "You changed, Daddy," because she thinking that back then I would have shot it. And the squirrel, when I shot it, it was crawling toward me. And it was looking at me. And that's when I also, see, I've always been a man that understands spirit. I understand animal spirits and everything. People don't understand it's real. I ain't gonna get into that. But I'm gonna tell you something. While the squirrel was doing that, my baby was standing right behind me watching, and she read me my rights. "Daddy, why you do that?"
Right.
I felt this small afterwards because the squirrel, I ended up having to kill it. I had to finish it.
Right.
Because he was crawling. I didn't kill him all the way.
It's gonna be excruciating if you didn't.
And then he was looking at me.
Right.
Now I still dream about
but
the
just
squirrel.
imagine you have young people in our community that's seeing murders, human beings murdered, more than one, multiple people
Yeah.
shot, family members shot, parents murdered, and they have to live with that trauma.
and
Untreated.
treated, right? And it's nothing. So a lot of times people don't understand why this kid is like that because what they didn't do, they didn't go in there and find out what his situation is. Nobody told them, "Yo, man, I love you today." In our program, we had it was PTP, Phototomic Production. We was doing artist development and showcasing. I used to every kid that came up to me, I would always say, "Did anybody tell you that they love you today?" And where's that?
It's 8:05.
Oh, I would ask, "Did anybody tell you that they love you today?" And they would look at me and say, some of them would say no, and I'd say, "I love you." We did this all the time. So it got to the point every time we came in and we would do this. We had a session where we met up every Wednesday and preparing for shows and different things like that. You know this, and people start coming in and they start to saying, "Hey, pops," I said, "What?" They said, "Anybody tell you they love you today?"
Oh.
And I was like, "Yeah, but what?" And they say, "I love you." So we started to change the rhythm.
Change your name.
We changed it, and a lot of us started to show that love when we became like a
Make
family.
the love cool again.
So we done went past our time.
Before you
Go
do
ahead.
that, we have a comment. Maria Hughes says, "NA worked for me and still working. We'll have 34 years clean on the
Amen.
20th."
Congratulations. That's
Right.
a blessing.
That's what I'm
So
talking
she
about.
understands the importance of peer support.
Yeah. And many people that just joining in, let me tell y'all something. This was an opportunity for us to sit down with some professionals. Not no professional criminals. We talking about professional people. People who have come back into the community to make a difference for us. I want to tell you, Sean, much respect to you, my brother. Much respect to you for what you're doing. That you can tell the truth and you can tell it without having some kind of guilt or conviction. You're telling individuals, "Yo, man, you don't want to go there."
Right.
And to you, you're a queen.
Thank you.
And I appreciate
Is she
you. know.
fine? I know you fine, but she
Beautiful.
fine.
Beautiful. I love it. I love it.
Look, he must be trying to put some beard in. He trying
I
to put
see
some
that
beard in.
comedy in him now. I
Yes.
see it.
So also I want y'all to make a promise that I enjoyed this. Will y'all please come back?
Absolutely. We would love to.
Oh, you know we're gonna set Sean up. Let me tell you what I'm gonna do.
We're gonna let him do
We
some
we
stand-up.
gonna have to do some stand up.
Man, I'll do a whole routine.
Yes.
Everybody, man,
Yes.
everybody think I'm so serious.
Hey,
They think
hey,
I'm
Sean.
always thinking, what's up, bro?
Okay, don't you heard me? I'm gonna
Yeah,
get you in the
okay,
next
oh,
one.
Hey, I'm the master of the one-liners, man.
Okay,
I'm a master of the one-liners.
we gonna set him up.
No, that's gonna be great.
We ain't gonna let him. But for everybody to just tune in, we appreciate y'all checking us out.
Thank
You know, it's
you.
people to people. We want to thank LaShawn,
Thank you so much for having us.
LaShawna, and Sean. Y'all an amazing couple.
Thank you.
I already knew that. My daughter was my daughter spoke so highly of y'all, and I actually didn't think she gave y'all the justice now to sit down.
No.
She when I first met y'all.
Mhm.
When we walked into it, she said, "Daddy, you got to meet them."
Okay.
Damn,
Yeah.
damn, with them. I'm her husband usually.
Well, no, but
I'm
when
usually
she
just her husband.
I'm surprised she.
Yeah.
I thought that's neat that she didn't just say you have to meet me. She
no,
was like you have to meet
them.
them.
Yeah.
Because she
That's dope.
pointed you out to me.
Yeah.
We shook hands.
Right, I remember.
Yeah, and we were sitting in there, and it was all
It
much.
was at the
See,
reception.
a
No,
lot
the
of
plumbers union. At the plumbers,
Yeah.
I met him at the
At the reception.
yeah.
At the
Yeah.
roofers union.
Yeah, the roofers union.
yeah. So it was. The only problem is I'm
Yeah.
deaf in my right ear, right? So while I was in there, a lot of people didn't understand. I'm very talkative when I can hear
I know
everything,
that.
but when I'm in there, even while you and I was talking
Right.
for a little bit, our conversation weren't
You couldn't catch everything
because I couldn't catch
Too
everything.
much noise.
It was too much noise, so I try to read lips, and then I don't want people saying, "Why is he staring at me like
Right.
that?" You know, because I'm trying to read the lips and everything. But I just want to tell y'all that even from then, and I think I then asked you about your book. What's the name of your book?
Through the Wire, My Search for Redemption.
And how do people get it?
It's on Amazon.com.
Amazon. So that's what they're gonna ask for
Yeah, through the wire, my search for redemption.
on
By Lashonia Thompson Hill.
Okay, and hey, we got to do that. We got to go out there and get that book, and let's check into that, and show that support. They agreed that they're gonna come back on, so we're gonna make sure that happens as well. I want to tell you, my brother, thank you, man. Much
Thank
respect,
you.
man.
Thank
Much
you.
respect. I thank you, Queen.
Thank you. We
You know,
appreciate it.
and this was definitely a good opportunity for us to do what we do, and now I got to do my little tricks as we move forward and get ready to shut it down. But I could just say that it was an honor and a pleasure to have y'all in here with me. And my wife didn't say much, but
I said enough.
she said
I
something
said
though.
enough.
Yeah,
But thank everybody for tuning in. And again, happy birthday to all the June
Yes.
babies. Let me see if I can go down the family line. Who's first? Vicky, the third. Xavion, the 8th. You're the 9th. Marcus, the 10th. The 13th is my brother and sister-in-law.
And Millie's
Millie.
the daughter-in-law. Hers
Yeah.
is the 13th, I think.
13th.
And then
Nika is the 25th.
Yeah, but
no,
my-
before Nika
and my
is
my sister,
twin sister and brother.
right, and my
There's
sister,
the 22nd.
and my
Then
sister
Nika,
Kathy's
then
is
Kathy's.
the 16th.
Give it up for
My
Gemini.
grandmother's was the 17th.
I love Gemini.
Happy
Yeah.
birthday, Geminis!
Yes, the twin
And cheers
sign.
to all of us here.
Cheers.